Hello friends, welcome to our channel Creating Essence. I am Megan. Thank you so much for stopping by today. It is a beautiful sunny afternoon. We just finished our first thunderstorm of the year. There's something about the smell after the thunderstorm and how everything is so clean and bright, especially when the sun comes right out and lights things up like this. So I decided I would go ahead and do our April homestead update to share with you all right now. First up, we have the bees. They are doing really well. If you saw the first hive inspection video of the year, which I'll post a link to in the info box below, I said that based on all the brood that was growing in there, I thought they were getting ready to have a huge population explosion. And I was right. I did another hive inspection yesterday, and I had to put on another super. I did an Instagram live of that, so our friends over on Instagram could check it out in real time. I put the queen excluder there on the top so the girls could focus on making plenty of honey in that top box without having to worry about interrupting brood when I get in there. Next up is the 20 ladies in the chicken tractor. I think we need to repaint the sign, don't you? The ladies are all doing great. We're moving them twice a day right now. Looks like they could actually use another spot right now. But they are all so happy to be back on grass, just like they were the very first day they were put out. My strong volunteer. Actually, he didn't volunteer. We were able to get quite a bit of gardening done over the last couple days. And all this area over here is prepped for planting. There's a little bit more dead nettle that needs to be pulled out of some spots here. But it is going to be ready just in time for planting day after our last frost date in 2 weeks. Our last frost date here in Central Virginia is April 15th. But I usually wait until about the 20th to plant because we've gotten a couple of late frosts here. And I would just rather wait a couple extra days than lose everything. Orchard bed is doing great. Our little elderberry transplant from last year is getting big. We have cosmos and other flowers that reseeded themselves last year that are coming up. Our apples are doing really well. This is the most apple blossoms we have ever had here. I'm really hoping maybe we'll get something from them this year. The elderberries are all doing amazing. We have so many little babies coming up all over. I just recently put up on my personal Facebook asking if any locals wanted elderberries because I have so many between this bush and that bush that I am happy to share if anybody wants them. And it seems like a whole lot are going to Good New Homes. This is our other apple tree. Not nearly as many blossoms, but a lot of healthy looking leaves. So maybe we'll still get blossoms yet. And over here we have poppies coming up. I have not planted poppies here in 3 years. And none have grown in that time either, but somehow we now have poppies coming up again. The peaches are doing wonderfully. We have so many little tiny fruits all over the peach tree. I'm really hoping we can get some fruit this year for the first time. We put down cardboard and mulched all along the edge of the garden here. This is one way that we keep weeds from infiltrating the edges of our Back to Eden garden. And we're hoping to drown out the poison ivy that grew there that gave me that awful reaction last year. Back there we still have all our tomato cages and gardening supplies being stored, but they'll be in use soon. I finally got the first mowing done. It really needed it. We had lots of really long weeds growing up. Ooh, there's a butterfly. The blueberry bed is growing really well. All of our daffodils that we put around the base of the blueberries are multiplying so well. My rosemary from last year is coming back nicely. I've already been using some. I don't think This blueberry we planted last year made it, so we'll have to replace that one. Our thyme is also coming back really well. I've also been using this and had the opportunity to share some with friends too. All of our gladiola bulbs and lily bulbs are coming up in here. We just planted them last year, and look at all the little babies that they're putting off. And Asher's lilac is in bloom. I love that lilacs bloom in early April here. They smell so good, and they're just such a beautiful reminder of spring. More lilies and gladiolas over here. We have sage. It's another herb that's coming back from last year that we've been able to share with friends because we have so much. One of our blueberries from last year coming back. Oregano, more blueberries, more oregano, more blueberries, and here's some sage. This blueberry did make it. It's just taken a little while for those leaves to bud. And this one down here made it as well. These blueberries were super duper affordable. I think something like $5.99 or maybe $3.99 that I got at Aldi last year around this time. And normally I get my fruit and berry bushes from Stark Brothers, and they're significantly more expensive. But I decided to give it a chance, give Aldi a chance this year, and I'm very, very impressed. I think we only lost 2 or 3, and that's not necessarily because they were poor quality. We have a lot of fire ants in here, and they can just eat up the roots of a lot of these plants. So it could have been that. Regardless, it'll be worth replacing them for such a low cost. I did manage to get the strawberries weeded and mulched, and they're already starting to come up through the mulch all over the bed there. This bed is prepped and ready for leeks when they're ready for transplanting. Another strawberry bed is weeded and growing in. We have lots of strawberry blossoms and tiny fruits already. This strawberry bed, I tried to weed, but I just can't get all this Bermuda grass out without digging. There are some little plants clinging to dear life in there, but we'll see how this one turns out this year. We may have to just dig it out and strip it down to nothing. The beets in this bed and the carrots in this bed are growing up nicely. They are tiny, but they are there. And some beets. The peas in each of these beds have finally sprouted. I was worried it took them about 2.5, 3 weeks to grow up, but they're finally taking off. The peppermint at the very end of our raspberry bed here has taken off like wildfire. It was one single plant that we put in right there last spring, and it is everywhere now. I'm so excited. The kids have been munching on it raw. We dehydrated a bunch last year for tea, and I'm so excited to be able to do more this year. Likewise, the raspberries, which are another thing we got from Aldi last year, are growing and reproducing so well. These are the original canes from last year, and each of them has put up tons of babies all around them. My goal was to just plant the original raspberry canes about 3 feet apart inside this trellising and let them fill it in themselves, and it really is working wonderfully even at just 1 year in. And we have lots of raspberry blossoms coming. And our other bed on the other side of the driveway is looking very sad. We were not able to get the trellising pounded in nearly as deep, even with support posts. They fell down. It seems that the soil underneath here was very rocky, and no matter what we did, we could not get them go in far enough. It just started splintering the tops of our posts here. I think we're going to have to put in something that does not require trellising for healthy and neat growth. This was another Aldi find last year. It is a lilac. It's in bloom. It has grown so well and gotten so big. These, I believe they're red raspberries, but they have never blossomed or fruited for us, ever. My sweet, sweet friend Jen sent these to us from her property in Idaho several years ago, and we immediately planted them. They took off beautifully, but they've never produced fruit. And my husband and I have been contemplating whether or not we're just going to pull them out to make room for something else, because we think they perhaps just don't produce in our climate. Southern Virginia has very different growing conditions than Idaho. Bee Island is all ready for planting whenever our seedlings are ready. Our lavender is coming back here. Our lemon balm is coming back here. We have all this empty space before we get to the end, where we have lots more gladiolus and lily bulbs that are growing. And that is it for the walk around the property and showing you all what is growing right now here on our homestead. We are so excited to be getting going with the planting here soon, and the little bit we've been able to do so far. I would love to hear how things are growing where you are. Are you just getting seedlings started indoors? Do you have your full garden in? There is such a huge difference between all the different hardiness zones across the US and Europe and everywhere. So tell me what's going on where you are. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. If you like this video, as always, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to hang out for more. We'll see you again soon.